doctoral degree at Pajajaran University in Bandung. She currently serves as chairwoman of Institution of Research and Community Service (LPPM) of Bandung Islamic University. She is a lecturer of journalism at Faculty of Communication Science, Unisba. Her scientific works and publication on communication, broadcasting, and communication on broadcasting regulation have been published in many various journals. Now let's welcome Professor Ati Rahmiati, MSc, as our second speaker, who will share about the role of media for developing interfaith communication. And our last speaker, we have Associate Professor Dr. Normah Mustafa, an officer of the Studies and Lecturer of Faculty of Social Science and Humanities, University Kebangsaan Malaysia. She holds a PhD at United Kingdom, UK. Okay. Please welcome Professor Normah. Okay. Professor Normah will share the matter about trends and emerging issues in post-truth research. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this seminar will be divided into two sessions. First is the speaker will deliver the material for about 20 minutes each, and after that the audience can ask the question. I will give opportunity for three questions for any session. Okay, now let's start the session with presentation of Professor Eng.
Good morning. That's the only Sundanese word I know, apart from the rendang, the very good. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for the honor, distinguished guests, faculty, and students. I want to talk about the negative impact, but I know that it's the first time when I talk about the fourth industrial revolution that we're given a talk about negative impact. Most of the time, people talk about the things that this fourth industrial revolution can do. So let me go over what this fourth industrial revolution is about, first of all. Next slide, please. Okay, so you should know that this term began in Germany, okay, and it is about almost 10 years ago now, 2011. And in Germany, the issue is really about manufacturing. So if you look at how this applies today, it doesn't really apply well, because today's economy, even in Indonesia, you can see a large part of it is a service economy, whereas Industrial Revolution 4.0 was talking about the manufacturing industry, and here we're moving already towards service. The big difference is that we're talking about the use of data and computerization. Of course, the second one is so different because there's computerization a long time ago. And the answer is there's a mix. It's not just computerization, but there's a physical component. There's, in other words, you use something, you see it on, for example, autonomous vehicle, driverless car. That is using automation, but with the car. And the big impact is to know that you use more information and data. Next slide, please. Okay, so we can see the fourth step when Industrial Revolution began, 1.0, with mechanization. So this is the power using not so much steam, even but water wheel, wind power, and then later on with electrical energy, small assembly, and then we have electronics, okay, coming in as automation already. And in today's world, we'll talk about more fiber. So you can see this change from just being physical, right, to use of automation over the years. And it's not, so it's a very gradual process. You don't even feel it. It's a gradual process. You see 1969 already, right, the automation has begun. Next slide, please. So the thing to learn is, if you talk about the negative, I think we need to look at history and to see what are the negative of the previous three industrial revolutions. Okay. So I think the first one is the over-exploitation of resources. Okay. There's a commercial logic in capitalism. Capitalism says more is better. If you have something, more is better. It's like vitamins. If some vitamin is good, more is better. Yeah. If some land is good, more is better. If some money is good, more money is better. So it leads to over-exploitation. Okay. Exploitation to some extent is okay, but over-exploitation. And you can see this in our world now as pollution. It's quite good. And then also of people. So if you look back, exploitation of people led to the rise of communism. Communism was a response to Industrial Revolution 1 and 2. Right? That too much people being made to work hard for a small amount of money. If you look at the West, the laws against child labor came much later. Right? Slavery, the change in slavery came much later. Right? So there's a tendency to exploit people. And so at the most quick period of time. So the thing to note is that it led to a big change. Like communism is, led to a lot of death. Many people blame religion for causing death of millions of people. That is true. The Spanish Inquisition, the Crusades, you can see this unfortunately ISIS and some of these Islamic terrorists. But the bigger, okay, look count the number, the bigger killer really has been communism. You think of millions of people killed in China, in Russia. Communism has led to some very bad effects. So the response to exploitation was communism, which again also is unfortunately also exploited people. Right? So not good. In our world, we have this thing called the gig economy now. Gojek and Grab, I can see that around. I'm really surprised how big Gojek is. Green jacket and green helmet. We need a law to protect these workers because there is short-term gain. Their salary is relatively high in the immediate term, but there is no, when you don't work, there is no money. And so what happens to the health benefits? What happens to insurance? What happens when they retire? So I think you need to take care of this group of workers here. Next slide, please. One change also is the fact of the speed of change is accelerating. Right now, many of us have the iPhone or the Android, one of the Android phones. I'm not sure about the Android phone, but the iPhone is supposed to be more powerful than the computer that took man to the moon. So the iPhone, in theory, could replace the computer that took a person to the moon. And this is 1969. Yeah, some of you were not born, many of us were born before 1969, right? Imagine that. And imagine the iPhone, 2007 when it came out. That's a very important year for social media research because after 2007, the use of the iPhone meant the different use of social media, the rise of social media. Research done before 2007 on social media is highly questionable because the way we use the phone, the way we use social media is different after the smartphone came out. And this is just 12 years ago. Many of you, all of you in this room were born before that. So imagine how the time that you were born till now, the way we use a very important thing in our life, social media, has changed just in the last 12 years. Right? So this is an accelerating pace of change. Really, really big changes. Next slide, please. So let me talk now also about systemic threats, because the term is kind of broad, so I wanted to look also at this issue of systemic threats. This issue of cybersecurity is major. Your phones, if you are not protected, be careful, protect them. Your laptop, you should, at a personal level. But at the individual level, I mean the societal level, right, your cybersecurity, there has been some evidence, if you're not really sure, of attacks on traffic lights, on power grids, on electrical power. It seems to be in the US, maybe there's some, no one's really quite sure, but I can tell you all countries are looking at this. I'm sure even Indonesia, you have a cyber unit looking at attacking the enemy, attacking the power grids, electrical system and so forth. Right? Along with systemic threats, something different, and that is the use of electrical power. Okay? Because all of us still use the phone, right? We are using more power. The rise isn't that big yet because the phones are quite efficient. We're using 1 or 2% of electrical power. But this rise of use for power for the phone is the fastest rising component. It's a small unit right now, but it's rising very quickly. And also big data analytics, they use a lot of power. The reason is that to develop one model, you need to run the model several times. You need to test and test the model. So you need to run them continually, and so a lot of power consumption is used. Power consumption means, of course, right now using oil still. We're still using oil, we're still using a traditional sources of fuel. The solar power is not really efficient, but they're relying on oil. So there is a systemic threat in the sense of the threat to welfare and pollution. Next slide, please. Okay, this shows you the power consumption in Asia Pacific. Yes, not all of it is due to our smartphones and big data analytics, but the point is the rise of electrical power consumption is very high in Asia Pacific. We are just huge in numbers, right? Next slide, please. Okay, I want to talk now about some social threats that are of greater concern to us in this room. We do social science research, we are concerned about this. The first one is privacy. So the thing about privacy is that it's a fairly new concept. In ASEAN, we just had the ASEAN Human Rights Charter within the last 10 years, and then we passed some rules on this. I think Indonesia is working on the data protection law. It's not yet enforced, as I gather. Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, few countries have in ASEAN. You need a data protection law to protect your own data, prevent spam and so forth. But this privacy concern goes beyond that. There's a tendency now for government to say that too much privacy is not good. So therefore we need to know, we need surveillance. The thing about privacy is that it's a very tricky concept because when you have privacy, it means that people don't know about your data, right? It also means they cannot target you. Businesses want to target you. Businesses want to target us to a market of one. All businesses want to advertise to you as an individual level. Right? To get that, they must have a lot of data about you. So what is wrong with people having a lot of data about you or big data about you? What is wrong with that? And the answer is that in order to have true freedom of expression, you need some privacy. If you do not have privacy, if all that is known about you is out there, you do not really have freedom of expression. Because you will think some crazy ideas and people will know it's you and they may attack you or take some action against you. Freedom of expression requires privacy. So this is not a link yet that people see. You need that privacy protection for freedom of expression. And you need freedom of expression to come up with ideas on how to improve society. We need some strange ideas, some wild ideas. A lot of ideas that we have to really improve society will not seem right at the first time. And I can think certainly in many places, you think of the research that you find, maybe unusual, maybe strange, people think it's strange, but later on it's proven correct. So the issue of privacy becomes very important. And so there's a balance. I'm not sure how, it's something to work out. I'm still thinking this through, right? On the one hand, full privacy means that people don't know you and you cannot plan, right? We don't know how the traffic flows. You need some loss of privacy to plan traffic, to plan housing, where do people go for shopping, how do they spend their days. So you need some information there. But to have full privacy protection is also not good. So somewhere in between, we need to work out some kind of balance. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the issue of unemployment as a result of AI and big data. As part of my work, I do law and policy work. I have a small startup, a small company doing AI because I want to understand what AI does. We went to a company, it has 10 million comments. This company has 10 million comments every year. and the idea of the big data will come in and to sort out the comments, complaints and compliments, sort the complaints into categories, to send the right complaint to the right department, and then draw up a templated response, people check. If you read 10 million comments, it would 1 second each. It will take you 1.5 years, one person. So this company has about 50 people reading the 10 million comments to respond to them. We think that AI, what we're developing, this company we are developing, can replace 45 of them. In other words, 90% of the people in the department do not need to work in that department after AI comes in. In fact, we think 45 is, leaving 5 people is already too many. Maybe we just need 3. One go on leave, still have 2 more persons around, it's enough. So that's how big an impact AI can potentially have. Will AI come to Indonesia and disrupt employment or not? Right now, it's not really clear because AI right now is very infancy stage. If you were to start a business with AI, I would say go and start it because it's still infancy. The impact is still very, very slow and still very, very small. What do you do with less educated workers? Okay. In the old system, workers can work in factories and earn a good salary. Many people work and earn a good salary. But if all equipment becomes more high-tech, it requires more education. What do you do with less educated workers? Everybody in the world is wrestling with this problem. So that's a big issue to look at. The next slide. This one is the issue of wider social inequality, right? And you can see how the 4th Industrial Revolution can impact this issue. Think of the company that had 10 billion comments, right? And I just told you that the startup I'm working with can replace 45 people out of 50. We were discussing how do you price the work that we do. So one suggestion was, why don't we just take half the salary of the workers that we're replacing? So we take 22% salary, right, 22.5, and we say this is the bill that we're charging you. We charge you 22.5% annual salary. You just give us this amount of money, you will save 22.5% labor already. Save 22% salary, right, annually, right? So think of the big gap, right? So one company, a small company, now has got 22% salary just for one project, right? And then 45% are laid off. They're not working in that company. So you can see how there's a big gap, right, in income inequality. And if this big gap in income inequality, this is what led to the revolutions in communism, right? You can see the Arab Spring, the big gap as well. So this leads to social revolution, right? It's the result of lack of social mobility. Next slide, please. I wanted to point out also, and I'll spend some time on this, that one thing to note is that in Islam, okay, there is a rich tradition of ideas that are being used right now in our computer world. And can I know how many of you have heard of this person? How many of you have heard of him? How many of you in this room have heard of this mathematician? Al-Khwarizmi. Okay? The word algorithm is named after him, came from him. And he did some mathematical work that made our computer world possible. Next slide, please. It's on Wikipedia, and so in case you don't trust Wikipedia, I put Encyclopedia Britannica, right? Okay. So this is the Muslim mathematician. That's the stem from Russia, Soviet Union. And you can see that he introduced Hindu-Arabic numerals. The Roman numeral cannot work for computers because there's no zero. Neither can a Chinese numeral because there's no zero, right? The Hindu-Arabic numeral had a 0. And Al-Khwarizmi introduced a concept into the word algebra, which is also another Arabic word. Okay? And you can see, okay, alcohol is also Arabic, by the way. Anyway, we won't go into alcohol, right? But you can see how his work was really critical to the computer world as we know it. Next slide, please. So some suggestions that I have, I'm wrapping up now, to give me time. I think that in your work, you should be involved in the 4th Industrial Revolution to understand its impact. By involve, I do not mean you necessarily go to work in that area, but to understand what it means, to consider what it means. I think that many of you here in this room, given your special background is in Islamic university, you have a really, really useful and critical role looking at ethics, because you're concerned about the ethics of religion, ethics of human beings. And I was very pleasantly surprised to learn that there are 3 faculties of religion in UNISPA, right? So you've thought long and deep about religion in a meaningful way, right? Right now, a lot of the work that is being done is not in law. So it is open in the sense of we need to shape the law, right? So in ethics, what you're doing is that you are bringing principles of philosophy and religion to discuss important issues that affect our lives. Ethics is not meant to be a moral right or wrong. Ethics is meant to help us lead happier and wiser lives. And I think that's what religion ultimately intends to also. So you bring in religious and philosophical conditions, and the end goal is to improve the human condition. So in the 4th Industrial Revolution, there is the potential for major harm, overexploitation of resources, which in this case could be data. Right? The exploitation of data can lead to harm. Okay? We may not necessarily see it now because people think there are benefits from exploiting data, but I've shown you briefly. Without privacy, there is no freedom of expression. Without freedom of expression, the improvement of society is made much harder. Right? So you can see how overexploitation of data can lead to harm. Therefore, you need to balance privacy there. So to minimize exploitation of your resources, like I mentioned, data, of power as well. So we need really more efficient ways of using the systems without using too much power. And then my final point is to minimize exploitation. So resources and then our people, to minimize exploitation of people. Right now there is a potential, and I think you see some of this, in exploitation of data and people in the 4th Industrial Revolution as we know it. AI can exploit people. I'm thinking again of gig workers. There's a very clear area of exploitation because there's no protection and the workers are seen as contractors. They are not employees of the company, they're simply contractors. And I think that there should be some move to protect them. Okay, the last slide. That's it. Okay, yeah. So this is my last slide, and I'll leave you on a thought that I think that the university at UNISPA has a great potential to contribute to this area of ongoing debate and discussion about ethics and improvement of the lives of human beings in the 4th Industrial Revolution. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Professor Ang. Okay, after we listen to the negative impact of industrial revolution, now we will listen to the positive point from industrial revolution 4.0. Is it better for us listen to bad news first and then good news? Okay. Now, please, Professor Attila Feti to represent people.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I will start with the statement of the Abu Dhabi Declaration in early November 2019. Please, next. Yeah. Stop using the name of God to justify violence, terrorism, and murder, but also stop instrumentalizing religion for certain personal and group interests so that the world is more civilized and the world is more human, world free from pain and tears, world more peaceful. I think all of you is agree that with that declaration. Please text. This is the text of declaration of Abu Dhabi Declaration. Okay, I will start next. I will start with empirical fact and that about religious life. Please next. Okay. This is a result from a compilation of research from Win Sarif Hidayatullah, from the Setara Institute, from Wahid Institute, and from Win Sarif Hidayatullah. There is 40, almost 60% respondent have a radical religious and 85% students support the establishment of the Khilafah. Next, and 60% of religious activities in school who are member of Islamic spirit are willing to conduct jihad in Syria, and 33 teachers are willing to take intolerant action. It's amazing. And the empirical fact above show that the seeds of intolerance have been planted from an early age in school, in an intensity that is quite alarming. And it starts with the mindset and attitude even they are ready to take an intolerant action. Although this data does not represent the quantity of Indonesia, but it must be considered by all parties in developed Indonesia in an atmosphere of peace, comfort, and no violence and life's grief. Next, and how about the challenges of the wave of the change industrial 4.0? This is globalization, democratization, and ICT is give rise to intolerance, violence, conflict potential, primordial openness, and moral decadency. Next. That is many factors that cause intolerance and conflict. And internal factor consists of the first, the strengthening of the value and ideology of religious exclusivism. That is due that the value is manifestation of increasing spirituality. There is three types related to religious practice. A, extremism with violence like ISIS movement. B, extremism without violence like HTI or with Khilafah, as you know. And C, exclusivism religious have enormous damage because it is long term in nature with reduce and damage the intrinsic harmony between religions. And second, the internal factor is in field politics, the system which aim to establish equal rights for citizens or the implementation of political democratization turn out to lead of negative access. And third, please next. In economic or business sectors, due to the high inequality of the poor and the rich, and regulation that have not been optimally enforced, conflict arise due to economic element. Okay, next. Fourth, in the socio-cultural fields, there is difference in the traditional of religious group, ethnicity, race, manifest in mindset, attitude, pattern of action, and causes of conflict if not managed properly. Next. In the field of law and regulation, in fact, there are still many rules that conflict vertically and horizontally, especially maybe in Indonesia. Last time we know the conflict is arise from controversial about KPK law or about Corruption Eradication Commission constitution. Next, and there is the external factor. Today, the international world is actually dealing for war trend, which are called asymmetrical wars, hybrid wars, and proxy wars. The most interesting is the war that use the power of information to weaken the enemy. This method, including toppling enemy image and authority, black campaign, deception, buying and controlling mass media to form opinion, create social engineering, destroy history, and create chaos in society. There is from Gatot Nurmantio at Scientific Origin in Unisba. Next. And then research precisions which state that media content priorities the emotional element of its audience, both in terms of objective presentation and the impact that might be caused by media content. In the context of effective turn in social science, media and communication has seen an increase in engagement with study emotion. And next, this is parallel. Politicians, media pundit, and publics increasingly describe emotion as integral to the age of the post-truth. Politics or suggest the emotion and feeling have become more significant than rationality and fact in people political decision making. Next, and how to build interfaith communication or media. The first, we have made the religious literature. It is the understanding of the basic tenet of both faith, the diversity of expression and beliefs within tradition that emerge and evolve in relation to differing social or historical contexts, and the profound role the religion plays in human social, cultural, and political life in both contemporary and historical contexts. The second, the purpose of interfaith dialogue to increase our understanding of and respect for other religious systems and institutions, thereby increasing our appreciation of their value. Dialogue should enhance our sensitivity to the feelings of all professing religious people in their relationship with God. Okay, the next, I take the touch of professional Johann Galtung's models. This is specially for media practitioner model suggested from the create peace journalism and war journalism. And next, and how around media as a bright people, I hope the convergence media like media stream, media mainstream and social media, there as a bright about people have different background, psychography, sociography, and environment to has give impact, alternative impact or choice. Their content and context give the conflict or give the harmony. And next, we agree with build quality media as a center of information resources in open society that is triggered by audience and market, regulation, law and ethics, and ownership. And we know there is quality media can give impact for audience to build mutual interactive, mutual understanding, mutual respect, and mutual benefit. And next, how the role of media and communication in building harmony. The role of communication in public education, both mainstream media and social media, have very significant interest in society today. Therefore, we hope the communicator or source will do the following bridge collaborator as like a conductor in orchestra, a great synthesizer, great explainer, great leverager, great adapter, great people, and great localizer. Okay, next, what's the criteria? I think it's the value and responsibility for our as a Muslim is Askari try to give alternative criteria and universal Islamic value, and I think it's agree. All of we agree with this criteria. First, strong law enforcement. Second, equality of rights and obligation of each citizen. And third, equality before the law. And next, respect for difference and minorities. And then level of honesty and trust between community member and public awareness of the environment and promoting dialogue and reconciliation. And the last is conclusion and recommendation is mainstream media should be conducted based on regulation. And second, social media is regulated and protected by the state to protect its citizens from adverse action to social media. And third, pentahelix is its main state institution, academic, NGO, news organization, media industry is responsible for the role of media literacy. And next, collaborating with communication institution to organize creative content based on educative information, empowering, enlightening, and reflecting nationalism. Fifth, the development and strengthening in communication-based institution become an integral part of learning tools for the community. And last, working together to build positive public communication and educate public space in building the character of the future generation. I think this is my presentation. I hope you can take advantage, and thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Professor Ati. And now, to find the solution for many problems in post-truth era, we need to know about trends and emerging issue in post-truth research. And this material will be presented by Professor Nama. Please. Okay.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning to all delegates of Accomac 2019. Okay. This is my, actually before that I would like to thank the organizer for inviting me in this second annual conference on communication, media and culture here in Bandung. Okay, as you can see, my topic is about trends and emerging issues in post-truth research starting from 2016 to 2019. Okay, this is, I'm a bit away from the normal topic because to me, conference is about conference, but at the end of the day, what can be done? I mean, what is the output of this conference? Okay, so then I must admit that this is not really a systematic review, past research, but at least it gives us some idea what to do next. Okay, so okay, next. Oh, before that, cannot see. Wow. Okay. 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 I'm not going to define what is disinformation, what is misinformation, what is fake news, what is post-truth, because I believe that all of you will get the real in-depth definition in our parallel session or throughout the seminar, the conference. Okay. So the intention of my presentation is here today is to, okay, thank you, is to give an idea about where are we heading in this kind of post-truth issue. Okay. Next. Okay, let's have a look at this video first. What's the video? Before this. This is normal definition of post-truth, where objective facts are less influential than appeals to emotion and personal belief in shaping public opinion. Okay, next. Okay, let's.
From the 2016 presidential election to the Brexit vote, fake news and disinformation spread mainly on social media has had a big impact in recent years. But how do you counter false information designed to sow division that's so easy to spread online? One country thinks it's found the answer. Rosie Tompkins reports.
I think social media is dangerous because it's so easy to just repost it or like it.
There's so many kinds of fake news. It's very hard to define, and you can never really know.
Yeah.
These students and their discussion are a vital tool in Finland's fight against fake news. A fight that this Nordic state appears well equipped to handle, having recently ranked top in a study measuring a country's resilience to the post-truth phenomenon. The focus here is not on big tech or on AI algorithms, but to look inwards at society. And the first line of defense is in these classrooms and in the minds of these students.
We don't have critical thinking lessons. It's built in all the subjects.
It'll spread like a plague, basically. So someone else will be posting afterwards, and suddenly it will become real, quote unquote. So people will actually think, well, it's everywhere, it has to be real.
What we want our students to do is that before they like or share anything in the social media, they think twice. Who has written this? Where has it been published? Can I find the same information from the other source?
The aim is to arm the students with a digital literacy toolkit for an online world filled with Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube. The national curriculum is part of a huge government effort to raise awareness of disinformation, and it seems to be taking hold. Finland is in a unique position when it comes to this particular fight. It ranks near the top of almost every global index: happiness, press freedom, gender equality, social justice. No wonder it's difficult here for external actors to find cracks to exploit.
How Finland has been able to counter these kind of foreign-led hostile information activities, the basic foundations of our society. It has taken many generations, but it's always important to remember that it's also easy to lose.
Many of these foundations were laid shortly after World War II, in part because the country shares an 832-mile-long border with Russia. Since declaring its independence more than 100 years ago, Finland has kept a wary eye on its neighbour to the east. Concerns about aggressive Russian disinformation campaigns, including interfering in the 2016 US presidential elections, which Moscow denies, made it clear to Finland it was time to prepare for a new battlefield, one that was moving online.
Past years we have trained over 10,000 civil servants, citizens, journalists. We have given the basic information about what information influencing is all about.
The goal is to raise the awareness of the entire society, including older generations who may be experiencing the digital landscape for the first time.
I don't see any end of this with the deepfakes and so on, so it's going to be much more challenging for us to counter these kind of activities in the future, and we need to be ready for that.
As the online landscape becomes ever more complex, Finland is already shifting focus to new challenges and new technologies that will make this battle even harder.
Okay, thank you. So what is the message from the video? If I may quote that from the video, actually we don't have the critical thinking. So what does it mean? It means that media literacy or literacy itself is a very important element in combating the fake news. Okay, so Finland will be the first to try to search for solution in this kind of issues. Okay, so next is we go to trends of post-truth research by years, beginning in 2016. Why 2016? As we all may know that the word post-truth is word of the day in word of the year in 2016, where there is two most prominent event or occurs. One, Brexit in UK, and the other one is presidential election in US. Okay, that's the the most prominent word of the year 2016. Okay, when we go, this is not thoroughly explored. Okay, it need to be more investigated further. Okay, 2016. This is kind of research done by several countries. UK, the most is UK and US, where it's all about fake news, misinformation, post-truth, disinformation. Okay, so next. So this is 2017. Become wider. There's research from South Africa instead of US and UK. There is South Africa, Canada, and actually the list is going on and on. Okay, next. Okay, well, in 2018, more wider, inclusive of Australia, Japan, China, New Zealand, and so on. 2019, next. Okay, UK, Canada, Finland, and also Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore also in the list. Okay, don't worry. So, but the question is, where are we as ASEAN countries? Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand, Brunei, Philippines, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar. Where are we heading in this type of post-truth research? Okay. So, as a summarized trend by countries, in 2016, we have researchers from UK and US, whereas in 2017, we have additional from South Africa, Canada, Lebanon, Singapore, and Indonesia. 2018, Japan, China, Australia, New Zealand, Sweden, and India, and the list goes on. In 2019, inclusive of Canada, Finland, Sweden, South Africa, Malaysia, and Indonesia. So I don't say that this is we are not researching on this type of research, but where are we heading as ASEAN countries? Okay. So next, we go to the emerging issues. This is issues pertaining to the post-truth. As always, there's fake news. The most discussed in these several several research. Fake news, misinformation, disinformation, propaganda, critical media, information literacy. This is the most important thing. Democracy, health, terrorism, ethics, and the list goes on. Okay, this is the emerging issues that we need to think about. Okay, so next, when we look at this kind of research, there are several theories involved. Okay, so this is just a few. For example, propaganda theory, spiral theory, diffusion of innovation theory, information processing theory, conspiracy theory, cognitive dissonance theory, selective exposure theory, and elaboration likelihood theory, etc., etc. Okay, this is another venue, another ways of looking post-truth within theories. Okay. Okay, so next. So as a conclusion, I think there is a need to have our own perspective. I mean, in terms of we as an ASEAN country in handling the post-truth issues. So I leave you with two questions. Where are we heading in these particular issues? And how do we synergize in solving the post-truth phenomenon? Okay, with that, thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Norma. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have already listened to the presentation of three speakers here. First is negative impact of Industrial Revolution 4.0. An interesting thing I heard is about capitalism that said where is that more is better. Yeah. Capitalism said that more is better. It led us to the many traits like social traits and synthetic infrastructure traits like humanism, privacy concerns of digital literacy, and then threat of unemployment and wider social inequality. Okay, and from the second speaker, we can see that regulation is the most important thing to regulate media and to put the role of media in developing the interfaith communication. And now, from the last speaker, you can see that trends and emerging issues in research of post-truth era is so various. Okay, and then Professor Norma leave us with two questions to discuss. Okay, so now I will open the discussion session for three audience to ask a question. Okay, partisipan boleh menanyakan dengan bahasa Indonesia. Apabila tidak menggunakan bahasa Inggris, nanti oleh kami akan diterjemahkan. Silahkan. Okay. Miss Ender. Okay.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, Prof. Aang, Prof. Eddie, and Prof. Nora. Before I have a question, may I introduce myself? My name is Citra Kaputri. I'm from Professor Mustafa University, Jakarta. I'm so very excited about your presentations because it's amazing. Maybe I want to asking about the Prof. Aang. It's about you talking about the privacy in the technology. Why we trust a technology when we put all data in the technology, all privacy in there, and they relate in the online technology? Why the technology make human feel less of privacy? And to Dr. Nora, it's very exciting video because it's about social media, and we know that it's a very have a negative issue when we talking about the social media nowadays. And we know that Indonesia is the third large country using a social media in the world. But in Indonesia, of course, we have less about the literacy on the social media. Just it. Thank you for question.
Okay, for the next question, you miss.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Vian Smutiara, and I work for the Ministry of Communication and Informatics of the Republic of Indonesia. I would like to ask a question for both speakers, Professor Ang and Professor Norma. I wonder, how is your content regulation in your country, both in Singapore and also in Malaysia? Because the ministry has a very abundant issues in regulating the content on social media, and it's not enough by just do surveillance through a technology, big data and whatever. And then I wonder also, what is your strategy in your country to enhance the literacy in the diverse society as you have in your country? So that is my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Mutiara. Okay, one more question from Mr.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Jamiluddin Nur. I came from Universitas Mataram, Lombok. I want to question to Prof. Norma Mustafa about post-truth era. I think we can relate the post-truth era with communication science and neuroscience. I want to ask question about where is the free will in post-truth era with the perspective of communication science and neuroscience? We know that extremely changed. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Jamiluddin. Okay, I will speakers to answer the question. First, Professor Eng, about why we trust technology.
Okay, I think we trust technology because it works. So I use a GPS. I don't know you, but I use a GPS called Waze, W-A-Z-E. The social media GPS. It tells me there's a policeman on this road, so don't speed. It tells you the traffic accident, so don't go this way, go by another way. So the technology works. And if you look at, for example, the social media posts, the news especially, it brings you relevant, not all, but more relevant news, more relevant information, more relevant content. You look at Netflix, you look at your other streaming services, they use some element of AI and some element of your information. And again, it works quite well. So the problem is that it works. So you end up trusting it. But we do not know enough of the negatives of, for example, the phone. We're now learning that if you spend too much time on your phone, that is not good for you because you get easily distracted. You cannot focus on your work. you cannot think long term. So we need to set your phone aside. The iPhone has got something called screen time. It tells you how much time you spend on the phone. I was surprised. I spend as much as 3 to 6 hours every day looking at the phone. Screen time. This is from the phone telling me how much time I look at it, right? So I have to reduce the amount of time because there are some negative effects. So the thing is that we do not know enough of this yet. It's like if you look at history of new technologies, there were harm from this, but we didn't know of this. There's harm from too much pollution. We didn't know of this until quite recently. Too much noise also we don't know. So again, we need to know some of these negative side effects. There's also a question about privacy. So again, we do not see the full negative impact of the loss of privacy. There's a lot of debate on how privacy is actually very, very important, like I mentioned, for freedom of expression, and the debate hasn't really gone out yet. So we need the time to sort of think of these issues, and that's why we have conferences also as an opportunity to discuss these issues.
Okay. And Professor Nama?
Okay, if I may answer both the first and the second question, because this is regarding the literacy, yeah? Okay, actually, when we talk about literacy, it is all in us, okay? We are the filter of whatever we met, whatever we read in online, in online area, yeah? Okay, so in order to enhance the literacy, the suggestion is to embed literacy or any literacy courses in school and university's curriculum, because this is the only way to make the user or the audience aware. Okay, so regarding the content regulation in Malaysia, we have this Malaysian Communication and Multimedia Commission, where this is the body that look after whatever happen in the digital era. So we do have this anti-berita tidak benar, but was pulled out because of the new government. To me, this is actually this act anti-berita tidak benar is good, okay, to prevent from the misinformation spreading to all the audience there. And we do have this checkpoint where we can check whether the news is fake or not through our website about fact checking, and